For years, teams have researched unsolved mysteries and strange phenomena that have occurred around the world. Though very little research has been done regarding some of the items and mysteries contained within the icy regions of the planet. From a surviving 30,000-year-old plant to a deadly virus that threatens to wipe out the entire world, today we discuss 5 incredible items found within Earth's icy regions. Number 5. Precious jewels worth an estimated $175,000 to $325,000 US were found in the French Alps, just below the surface of the icy terrain. The chief commanding officer of the Albertville, France Police Department says that the jewels were found in a metallic box in the ice caps known as the bossons. There were about 100 of the stones, and they were divided in multiple plastic bags, labeled Made in India. The climber who found them remains anonymous, but after his discovery, he took the jewels to a local jeweler to receive his estimation of their worth. He then contacted local authorities to turn them in to their rightful owner. Police say that the jewels came from one of 2 crashed aircraft that landed in the area in the 1950s and 1960s, the most probable being a crash from 1966 involving a Boeing 707 belonging to Air India. The plane had departed from Lebanon and was headed towards Geneva when it lost control and struck the top of Mount Blanc, about 15,000 feet in the air. The plane crash-landed, killing 165 people. Just 16 years later, another plane crashed in a similar manner in a similar area. French authorities are now in the process of contacting family members of those who passed away in the plane crashes to see if anyone makes mention of missing jewels. If no one does, the climber gets to keep them. Apparently, discoveries of this manner in the area aren't all that uncommon. Just a month prior to the discovery of the jewels, another climber found a briefcase full of documents. Police say that this is because the ice caps slowly change over time, making debris from the 2 crashes rise to the surface. In fact, skeletons of monkeys that were being transported on the planes have also been found in the past. Number 4. Scientists say that humans are now at risk of becoming infected by diseases of the past that have been dormant below the surface of the ice in certain portions of the world. As global warming is slowly beginning to take its toll on these icy areas, bacteria and infections that have been inactive for centuries are steadily becoming released from below the surface, posing a huge threat to humans and animals alike. In August of 2016, a 12-year-old boy who was near the Yamal Peninsula in the Arctic Circle died from anthrax poisoning, and at least 20 other people were hospitalized for coming into contact with it as well. Scientists believe that this infection is due to a reindeer that died in the area over 75 years ago from anthrax poisoning. Its body then became encompassed by ice, only to have been reintroduced in the summer of 2016 after a heat wave struck the area. The exposed reindeer released anthrax into nearby water and soil, posing a severe risk to all of those nearby. More than 2,000 nearby reindeer also became infected. This led scientists to question whether or not this would be an isolated incident, though it's not looking great. According to scientists, these icy areas of the world make a perfect location to store deadly infections, and there's no way of telling just what kind of bacteria lies beneath the surface, as the ice in these areas has been here for millions of years. Some have even called these areas Pandora's box of diseases. Researchers have recently found graves of those who died from the Spanish flu outbreak in 1918, where thousands of people were buried in mass graves in Alaska's tundra. They also have reason to believe that the bubonic plague victims are buried in Siberia, in areas that are now frosted over. Another huge disease that scientists fear is smallpox, which spread in the 1890s, wiping out up to 40% of some towns' populations. The victims' bodies were buried in the upper layer of frost in the banks of Kolyma, and now, over 100 years later, floods are beginning to erode the areas, bringing these infections to the surface. At the moment, there isn't much that can be done to prevent these outbreaks, other than wait and hope for the best. It isn't believed that these discoveries will result in any immediate danger, though their threat is imminent. Number 3. A team of Russian scientists recently discovered a deposit of seeds from a 32,000-year-old flower, which was originally native to Siberia. The plant had apparently been deposited by an ice-age squirrel near the banks of the Kolyma River. The seeds were completely encased in ice and were discovered about 125 feet below the icy surface, surrounded by mammoth, bison, and woolly rhino bones. Some of the seeds had been damaged, presumably by the squirrel itself, but plant material was still harvestable by the crew. The team extracted portions of the material, placed it in vials, and successfully germinated the plants. The plants grew after just a year and were all identical to each other, though they did have different flower shapes. The most incredible part is that these flowers then created healthy seeds of their own, making it possible for these plants to now naturally reproduce without human interference. This discovery has led many to wonder what other types of plants could lie perfectly preserved below the surface. One scientist even described certain icy terrains as a natural form of seed vault, containing hundreds or even thousands of seeds just waiting to sprout when the ice melts or when they're found by humans. Number 2. You may have thought that scientists finding a preserved plant was pretty incredible. However, a group of Russian scientists has now also discovered the perfectly preserved body of a puppy that they believe is 12,400 years old. The puppy was discovered in a sheet of ice near Tumat, a village in the Sakha Republic of Russia, in early 2016. The puppy appears to be from a long-extinct species of canine, though researchers have high hopes for the dog, claiming that there's a possibility that it can be cloned and brought back into the general population. Its brain was almost perfectly preserved, as were many of its internal organs. A researcher said, "The carcass is preserved really very well, and one of the most important things is that the brain is preserved. The degree of preservation is about 70 to 80%. We'll be able to say more precisely after it's extracted. For now, we can see it on MRI scans. Of course, it is dried out somewhat, but all necessary portions are visible. We can say that this is the first time we've obtained the brain of this kind of a canine." The puppy is believed to have been someone's pet at the time that it died, as it was mummified extremely close to an ancient human settlement. It's also believed that the dog could be from the same litter as the famous Tumat dog, which was discovered in the same area in 2011 and was dated around the same age. Much like this puppy, the Tumat dog was extraordinarily well preserved. Its heart, bones, and stomach and lungs were all perfectly intact. At the time, it was even the oldest mummified dog in the world. Both the puppies are thought to have died in a landslide close to the river. While these dogs will already provide us with a large amount of information regarding the Earth at the time of their death, their journey may be far from over if a South Korean scientist gets his wish. Scientist Hwang Woo-suk is a controversial cloning expert, and has led efforts in cloning woolly mammoths, an extinct cave lion, and is also known for hosting a dog cloning competition in the UK. Depending on just how well preserved the tissue and DNA is, Woo-suk says that there's a great possibility of being able to resurrect this extinct species. He was allowed to take tissue samples from the puppy and is currently at work on its cloning. Number 1. Scientists believe that a giant object capable of changing how we look at history could be hiding below the surface of Antarctica. This huge unknown object is thought to be the frozen waters of an area known as Wilkes Land. It's approximately 151 miles across and about 2,700 feet deep. Some researchers say that this could be the remains of an incredibly large asteroid, more than twice the size of the one that some believe wiped out the dinosaurs. If this is true, it could finally explain the event that caused the Earth to lose 96% of its sea creatures, and up to 70% of its vertebrate animals. However, this isn't the only theory regarding this anomaly. UFO investigator and fellow YouTuber Secure Team 10 claims that the object could be a huge military base that was used by the Germans in World War II, and may have been a base in which they housed UFOs and other military vessels. Secure Team then proceeded to show a few possible entryways to the supposed military base using Google Maps. Take a look at some of his findings.
The Wilkes Land gravity anomaly is seldom spoken about in the ufology community. However, sitting deep under an ice shelf of this isolated part of Antarctica lies one of the greatest mysteries on Earth. Many people believe that the gravity field around Earth is all the same. It's all even. But this is actually not true. The Earth is shrouded in varying land masses of varying sizes, and this has a distinct effect on how gravity works. During one of the flybys over Antarctica, the GRACE satellite noticed a very strange gravitational anomaly. In a virtually barren, blank spot of the icy continent, where there are absolutely no surface features or anything out of the ordinary, a gravitational spike was detected where the gravity was found to reach 300 miles up into space and pull down on these satellites much harder than any of the other areas around the continent. Secret Nazi bases that were allegedly built there during the Second World War, with some evidence of this coming to light in recent years, purporting to show various entrances built into the side of mountains that hold a saucer shape, and are not to mention at a very high altitude, which begs the question, how exactly would you enter these entrances without something that could fly and that was the same shape as the entrance itself? whatever your theory is, one thing we know for sure is that Antarctica has long been an enigma of the research community and will continue to be for the foreseeable future.
It's important to note that Secure Team has been exposed for faking his evidence multiple times in the past, but who knows, he could very well be right about this, and it seems that many of his fans and commenters agree with him, as there has been a bit of evidence that's come up in the past pointing towards the Germans using military bases in the Antarctic. Scientists do admit that they know very little about this strange area, and ultimately have no idea what causes its strange appearance, though they have made it known that they plan to investigate much further in the coming months and years. They've received funding from NASA to continue their search and plan to release their findings in the near future. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.